It also informs teachers in real time during the school year so that they can better help students. These progress monitoring tools will be customizable and will even be unique to each student. It gives the ability to have timely data during the school year so you can make the necessary corrections. And so we believe we've done a lot of great stuff in education over the years in Florida. We believe that having results monitored and measured is very, very important. But we also think that the FSA is outmoded at this point, and that we need to move forward with a more, I'd say, nimble and effective approach. And so this will be the last school year in terms of the FSA. 2022-2023 will then move to progress monitoring. They will not do the traditional grading. It'll be a year to set the baseline, and then the following year we will go forward with the grade. So I think that this is something that will make a really, really big difference. I think it'll be something that's very friendly to parents. I think it'll be something that the teachers will appreciate because they'll be able to make adjustments and really focus on the unique needs of each individual student. So I want to thank Richard Corcoran for helping us devise this. This will be one of our top priorities in the upcoming legislative session, and I imagine we're going to be able to get a lot of support for it. And here to help everyone understand what potential this has, we have a number of folks. We have Sarah Hall, who's going to come. She was a Teacher of the Year up in Seminole County. Christina Aucoin can also talk about from a teacher perspective. And then Alexandra Alonso is going to talk about it from the parent's perspective. And so, Sarah, if you're ready, can you come up and talk about this? Tell them who you are and what you teach and everything.
Of course, thank you. Good morning. My name is Sarah Hall. I'm an educator of 19 years here in the state of Florida, and I'm the 2020 Seminole County Public Schools District Teacher of the Year. For the first 17 years of my career, I taught primarily in a kindergarten and first grade classroom, which are non-FSA testing grades. I relied solely on progress monitoring data to be able to meet the individualized needs of my students by analyzing their data and being able to provide targeted, individualized interventions in a timely manner to be able to mitigate student achievement gaps. This progress monitoring were snapshots throughout the school year, which allowed me to not only meet the needs of my students who had some learning deficits and needed to improve, but also was able to provide me the opportunity to give my students meaningful enrichment when needed as well. The best part is that with this data, I was able to not only intervene in a timely manner, but we had more focused, more precise projections for student achievement, which led to 0 caregiver surprises. Progress monitoring has made a significant impact in my classroom, and this will lead to better student success. I would like to applaud Governor DeSantis and Commissioner Corcoran for their innovative approach to student assessment.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here, Governor DeSantis. My name is Christina Aucoin. I have been at Doral Academy for 7 years as the special education teacher. And exactly what Ms. Hall was talking about, we do exactly the same thing here with the progress monitoring. Is individualized and it's 100% targeted towards that student, especially in the field that I work in, which is the individualized education plan. Here at Doral, we do provide a rigorous and challenging curriculum for all of our students. We ask our very best to put forth their maximum effort, but we also do provide those tools, those resources, those supports needed for them to meet those high expectations. Our students with disabilities are also called to meet those high expectations. These students have been accepted into reputable universities such as SCAD, FSU, UF, UCF, with the supports that we provide here at our school. In particular, one student that comes to mind started here in middle school. He struggled at the beginning, diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and it was in the classroom an extremely distracting students, but with, again, the support of myself, the ESC department, the program specialists, the counselors, with administration, which offers amazing support, and in conjunction with working with the families, we were able to provide those skills, those supports, so that he can manage and he can focus and go on to high school to participate in honors classes, in AP courses, take AP classes, as well as get those credits, gain those credits for the university. There's many stories like this, hundreds of stories, just in the 7 years that I've been here, that I've seen, that have shown their true potential. We've been able to tap into unlock their true potential and supersede what I think even the student thought that they could possibly do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor DeSantis.
Thank you. Okay, we have Alexandra Alonso, a parent.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Good morning. My name is Alexandra Alonso, and my son is in 5th grade here. As a parent, I have personally seen the pressure and the stress that the students experience due to the year-long preparation for the FSA. This pressure is only exacerbated during the FSA testing days and as it approaches the testing week. Having family members who are also teachers, they have also shared with me the pressures from an educator's perspective. The day-to-day curriculum is already challenging enough for our kids. I agree in eliminating the FSA so that students can really learn and teachers can continue to teach. Accountability for schools will always be in place, with other metrics and continuous progressive monitoring will shape the framework for continued student success. Thank you, and God bless our children.
All right, Richard Corcoran.
Thank you, Governor. It's a fantastic day. I want to tell you, for 2.5 years working for this governor, when I first took the job, he said basically one thing. He said, whatever you do, everything, decision, policy, whatever we work on, make sure that we put students front and center. What is the best for a student? And you see it, whether it's finding more money for teachers, eliminating Common Core, and now ending the FSA. And basically, you've heard a lot of the comments made by the teachers and by the parent, the governor, but this is a huge victory for the school system. I call this V-Day because you're taking, basically from April and May, we basically shut down schools for testing. And we noticed this when we had, unfortunately, one of the silver linings of COVID was when we shut down the schools and we got rid of the FSA for the remaining of the school year, because that's what we did. What we noticed by looking at the progress monitoring, something that's done in every single school district, we looked at the progress monitoring data because that's what we still had. And what we noticed was, as the governor said, that the FSA is kind of antiquated. With algorithms and where we are with computer technology, we can take that progress monitoring data and have the exact same accountability system, protect what has been absolutely instrumental in the state. Our accountability system, before it, we were in the bottom 5. Now we're in the number 3 in the nation. So, and who benefits the most are your low-income kids, your minority kids, children with unique abilities. Those are the folks who have benefited from our accountability system. But the question remained, how do you help kids, empower parents, empower and give tools to teachers so that we can get better outcomes? And when you eliminate or reduce testing, guess what happens? That's more teaching. And more teaching means you're giving those kids a better education and they're going to be able to go out there and be great citizens and live a great life. And so I think this is an amazing initiative, Governor. I can't thank you enough. I think it's going to be transformative in how our children learn, how our parents now have. We always say the FSA is an autopsy. We basically wait at the end of the year, we have this autopsy, and we don't even have the data until the beginning of the next year. Now what we have is a diagnostic system, and all we had to do was grab that diagnostic system that's been used at this school, used in every school across the state, and use that system, which means greater input and data for the parents, greater outcomes for the students, and greater tools for our teachers. Just take that system, put it in place, and transform our educational environment. So this is a great victory. It's a great D-Day for education, and can't thank you enough, Governor.
Great, and I think that if you look at what we're doing, this is going to be more student-friendly. This is going to be more parent-friendly, and this is going to be more teacher-friendly. So this is moving Florida forward, I think, in a really good way. We're going to be able to more accurately measure progress during this way, but do it in a way that, again, is much more friendly and sensible for everybody involved. And this is a big deal. This will be a big part of what we're trying to do next legislative session. I think we're going to get a lot of support for it, and I'm confident we're going to get it done. But this is a real big deal for our state and for our parents and for our students and teachers. And it builds off a lot of the success that we've had over the last 2.5 years. We were, for example, in the most recent legislative session, we were happy to be able to provide $1,000 bonuses for all teachers and principals. They worked really hard last year and they deserved it. That also builds off the initiative we had to increase, and we've seen a dramatic increase in the average minimum salary for our school teachers. We were in the bottom half of states. Now we're in the top 10, maybe even the top 5, because the numbers kind of change as different states do different things. But the bottom line is we've understood the need to try to attract really bright young people to go into this profession, because we understand how having a good teacher makes a lot of difference. We've also done more to expand school choice, and here at Doral Academy is a good example of, I mean, you guys have a waiting list. Where's the principal at? I mean, how long's your waiting list? 4,000 students on the waiting list because they're doing well. Parents see that this is a great place to be, and particularly in Miami-Dade, you have 70% of the students are in some type of choice, either within the school district, within a charter, or within private scholarships. So we've really supported that, and I think that really makes everyone do better and certainly provides parents more options for that. We've made a big push for American civics. I mean, we've got it in the high schools. We were able to do a program for a civics boot camp for teachers where they can earn a $3,000 bonus to go and do this, and we think it's important that we're teaching kids about the country's founding and the history and everything like that, so that they're able to discharge the duties of citizenship. And we've also made a big push, not limited to our state colleges, which had kind of been the focus, but more bringing in the high schools, about vocational education and skills-based education. Fact of the matter is, you look right now, you're able to acquire some of these skills. You can make really good money without going a dime in debt and end up doing very well even for yourself in business. And so when you look at things like HVAC, welding, electrical, there's high demand for this, and we want to make sure that we're creating pipelines so students know that that's a viable option. I think what you've seen in places like Miami-Dade, who offers these, you'll have kids taking AP courses and getting certificates in some of these, and that's great. And then they have options to be able to do. My thing is we want people to have the opportunities to follow their dreams, but we should not tell students that the only way you can succeed is by going to a 4-year brick and Ivy university, because it's not true. Students are succeeding in a variety of other ways if they have skills, and they're able to acquire skills in ways that are cheaper in many cases and more effective for them. So we just want that. No, there should be no stigma about people that are going into some of these professions, because they're very productive folks and they do very well. And to me, I was like, if you go into 4-year and you do well, great. And a lot of people do that. And we actually incidentally just got ranked number 5 for the University of Florida for the top 5 public universities in the country. That's a great thing. We're obviously very happy that we've kept college affordable in Florida at our state university system, holding the line on tuition. So that's a good value. At the same time, you do have students that will go very, very deep into debt in some of these universities and then end up with a job that doesn't even require that degree. Then that debt really weighs them down. So we just want folks to know there's a lot of options and then provide that. So this is good. We've also done, and Richard and I worked on it a lot on early learning. That's really going to be transformational to get the kids reading, particularly by that 3rd grade level. So the momentum continues. This is going to be a big deal, and I just want to thank everybody involved, and I look forward to getting a lot of support from members of the legislature. Okay, yes, sir.
Very quick question, sir. Just with respect to the timing, this school year would be the last school year for the FSA, and then the progress monitoring would start in 22-23.
Yep, and that'll be the benchmark year,
Right.
and then after that, we'll be kind of resuming the typical framework that we have.
And does this take an act of the legislature? Or is
It does.
It's
It
not
does.
policy. It would be.
It is. So what we'll do, we're going to work on the legislation in the coming weeks. And we'll be working with the legislators to find the sponsors, but we've already spoken with Speaker and the Senate President. I know Richard's been discussing it, and we've gotten great feedback. He's also spoken to a number of folks, a number of the superintendents, and gotten great feedback. So I think we've hit a real sweet spot here, and I think that you're going to see a lot of support for it. Yes, sir.
Governor, I had a good conversation yesterday with the Chief Medical Officer at Nicholas Children's Hospital. You know, you're familiar with one of the best hospitals here in South Florida. And he talked about the fact that he believes because of mask mandates that he's seeing less hospitalizations at his hospital when it comes to pediatric cases. One, do you agree with him? And two, why not let school districts do what you did in the last fall, which is to allow them to do and take whatever measures they want to take based on local COVID?
Well, the fortunate news is we're seeing the declines all across the state. Big declines. We're seeing declines in pediatric hospitalizations. And incidentally, there was actually just a report in the Atlantic magazine that talked about the hospitalizations generally, including people who are positive but not being treated for COVID. That's definitely a big part of the pediatric as well. So, but we're seeing declines. Richard has the numbers. I think 65 of the 67 school districts have seen declines in cases. Of the ones that have double-digit percentage declines, I think Alburg Brevard have been parental choice districts, maxed optional. So I think we're seeing the trend regardless of intervention. And certainly we've never said people can do whatever they want in terms of protecting themselves, that's fine. But in terms of mandates leading to different results, just like last school year, we didn't see that. We're not seeing it. It's all moving in unison. We're happy with the trends. I think the one intervention that has made an appreciable difference has been our push for early treatment and our monoclonal antibodies. And if you look at the admissions today, today's numbers of admissions are the lowest they've been since July 18th. And you look when these centers really started rolling out, part of it was to increase the availability, but much more than that was to increase the understanding that this was out there, because a lot of people didn't know. And we found over 90% of the people that were being admitted to hospitals in Florida did not even know about this treatment, much less get it prior to that. So what we've seen is sharp declines in both the hospital census and the daily admissions. The pediatrics have also declined, but I would say the declines have been even greater in the higher risk components because they're being able to get this treatment early. We've done, I think, about 87,000 treatments at our 25 sites. That's in addition to what the health system is doing. I know many hospitals have been doing it. They haven't been doing maybe as much as we have because we're doing the subcutaneous and we've got a sole focus on this, whereas obviously they've got a lot of other fish to fry. But I can tell you that looking at the data and then talking with the patients, they will talk about their symptoms being resolved, and then you see it in the declining admissions. And so I think it's a good thing. And but I am happy that we're seeing declines across the board in school district after school district. And again, look, I'm a parent. This was when COVID first hit. I mean, it was something that I was concerned about. My wife was really concerned about it. But the data has just been overwhelming on this. Delta has not changed. Delta, there's more people getting infected in the Delta era, but in terms of the severity, the kids fortunately are the lowest risk cohort, and it's just important that they're in school in person and that they're able to learn in the way that's best for them and what their parents feel. But we look forward to continue seeing some good outcomes here.
Governor?
Yep.
If I could ask, yesterday you had a press conference, you guys stood next to you, said that the vaccines changed is RNA. And as you said, you're a data-driven guy. That doesn't line up with the data. Two questions. Do you believe that? If you don't believe it, how come you didn't say anything at the moment?
Honestly, I don't even remember him saying that, so it's not anything I've said. I think the data is very clear on the vaccinations. You're much less likely to be hospitalized or die if you're vaccinated. If you look, I think the hospitalizations skew 4-to-1 in favor of people who are unvaccinated, which really is understating the difference because most people are vaccinated. So you have a big pool and you're getting this many hospitalizations, a smaller pool of unvaccinated are leading to this many hospitalizations. So that's just the reality. Now, what we did yesterday was say, okay, this is something we've made available for all. We worked really hard. We were very successful in distributing it. But to take somebody's job away as a result of these are cops, these are firefighters. These people have been on the front lines for us for this whole pandemic. And if someone needed their help, whether they were COVID positive or not, These guys were on the scene. They were there supporting them. Many of these firefighters and police officers have already recovered from COVID. And so I think this idea of using government coercion and force, one, is going to backfire. And you've already seen, since Biden's announcement, a decline in vaccine uptake. We'll see if that's durable. I hope not. I tell you, the J&J pause caused it to crash. If you go look at that, that was a huge mistake that was made. So my view is we shouldn't deprive somebody of their livelihoods and their jobs based on this issue. I think some of those folks who've recovered from COVID, I think they have good protection. That's been clear in every study that's been done, and so you understand kind of where they're coming from. There are some of those folks who may make a decision that's not ultimately the right decision for them. I can tell you there's obviously people that have been hospitalized who probably wouldn't have been, had they done that. And I think people understand that. That data has been very clear. I just don't think that decision should be used to cast aside people who served our communities for years and years and years. And anytime one of the guys from Gainesville that we had yesterday, he was down on the pile in Surfside helping out. That was a hazardous environment there, and yet they're doing it. They didn't ask any questions. So now you're going to turn around and you're going to fire them over this decision. That's just not how it is. And so my view is you stand by the folks that have stood by us. Not every decision they make may be the same decision I would make, but at the end of the day, I just think it's fundamentally wrong to cast people aside, ruin their lives, hurt their families, and take their jobs. Yes, sir.
With this new system, would schools still, where the millions of dollars go into testing every year, would that go to other areas?
It's a good question, Richard. How do you think, what would the cost, do you think, how would that shake
We're
out?
looking at it now, but it's absolutely going to save millions of dollars in testing. Absolutely. Because we already do the progress monitoring, so we're just going to pick it up. The initial expense, we're making sure all 67 districts are on the same progress monitoring program. But after that, there'll be a massive reduction in cost.
And would this change how kids are promoted the next year?
Our accountability system will remain the same.
We'll have accountability, but I think the good thing is progress monitoring has been going on, as you heard, which is really good. Now, we are going to have everyone on the same kind of progress monitoring platform just to ensure uniformity, but I don't think that's going to be a huge deal. And again, everyone here knows, this is laborious when you talk about the FSA. It goes a lot of labor, a lot of time, a lot of money, and so we think it'll ultimately save money, and we think it'll ultimately save a lot of people's times. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Sir, regarding the school districts requiring masks, Broward is facing sanctions. Miami-Dade has not received a letter yet. Yesterday, the superintendent Carvalho said that he hopes in the future to relax COVID protocols and didn't specify exactly which protocols. And is the state willing to work with those districts and perhaps avoid the sanctions? And how is the appeals process going?
So I leave it to Richard on some of that because I know they've been following it. I will say though, in terms of litigation, we think we're going to win that in a slam dunk. At the end of the day, the legislature passed a Parents' Bill of Rights, and I understand there's many people in the legislature voted against it. I understand that. I understand some people think that the government should trump the parents' rights. That's just not what Florida law says, and so that's just where we're at. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I feel good about it. Remember last year we were in a situation where we were getting the kids back in school, and that was like people were going crazy. There was hysteria and everything. We looked at the data. It was very clear that this was something that was important, that these were low-risk environments, and but we did get sued to close the schools by the union, and we lost in Tallahassee trial court, which we typically do, and then we won in the appeals court resoundingly. And did they even appeal it to the Supreme Court at that point? It just kind of died. So we ended up having a successful school year under difficult circumstances, and I think we'll end up seeing that again now. And again, school started literally. I think our infections basically were peaking as school started. I think they've gone down steadily since then. And it shows you it's important because people have pointed to schools as some type of a source for community spread. That's obviously not the case. It wasn't the case last year. And then what we're seeing in real-time data is as millions of kids are going back to school, our metrics continue to go down. And so I think having the schools open is so important. I am concerned, not in Florida, but we know that that these waves follow a regional and seasonal pattern. When Delta starts to hit some of these other areas, I do think it's possible you could see them try to close schools. I think that'd be devastating for a lot of kids and a lot of families. But I do think that that's something that's possible. Parents in Florida can be rest assured, we're going to make sure, your kids are able to go to school, because we understand how important it is for them, how important it is for you. And as much as we've lost just generally with some of the disruptions to the kids' lives, Florida has been able to mitigate that better than most. One more. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, Governor. Most feels that COVID's here to stay, and we're going to have to navigate our lives through it until further notice. So to go to a public school here in Florida, measles, mumps, rubella is required, polio is required, highly communicable diseases spread through the respiratory system. Is that not something that is COVID not in that category?
Well, I think it's important to draw the distinction. So some people have justified Biden's mandate and said, hey, there are mandates, and they'll point to examples. Those are state mandates, which do make a difference, because states have police power. The federal government doesn't have police power. And so if you're purporting to exercise of police power from the federal government, that's inconsistent with our constitutional system. Also, he's going back, he's finding these obscure statutes that nobody ever thought had any applicability in these types of situations, finding some obscure regulation and then using that to be able to impose potentially livelihood destroying penalties on people. Because what you'll find is some of these businesses are not going to be they're not going to be able to afford testing everybody all the time. And so you are going to see people potentially lose their jobs. So just understand, when we're doing the fighting the federal mandate, they have different sources of authority and they have limited enumerative powers. In terms of the schools, what I would say is the MMR vaccine is a sterilizing vaccine. It creates sterilizing immunity. And so if you have 100 people that all have it, they are not going to get it. They're not going to get measles. We know that. The COVID vaccine has not blunted transmission. We obviously hoped it would, but I think you see the case counts, it's doing it. So the function of it is different. And I would also say there's a radical difference between the threat that measles, mumps, or rubella would apply to a school children versus what COVID does. Fortunately, and the statistics bear this out, a normal kindergartner, absent serious health conditions, but a normal kindergartner unvaccinated is at less risk from COVID than a vaccinated adult. So they are very, very low risk. So it's a much different calculation in that respect. But just understand, those things with schools, that has never been applied, to my knowledge, to just holding a job or things like that. I can't, or at least certainly have the federal government order the private sector to do some of that stuff. So, and then I also am concerned about, you get the other vaccines, you kind of do it. There's maybe some regimen, but you're not doing them every 6 months. I think the question would be is, if you're forcing this on somebody on penalty of losing their job, say they got the 2 Moderna doses or the 2 Pfizer, then 6 months later, the government says you have to do a booster, let's say. Well, what if they think that they're fine? Would they lose their job then? Do they always have to keep doing it? I think it creates a lot of thorny issues. And if you look at the boosters, and this is something that has not gotten very much attention, my sense would be if Donald Trump was president, it'd be the lead story. But 2 high-ranking FDA people resigned in protest over the push for these boosters. They said there's not enough data. They just authored an article in The Lancet saying that they don't think boosters are warranted right now for the general public. I don't know whether they are or not. I haven't seen any data on it. But the point is that this is something that there is a political deadline set for the boosters. People at the FDA have resigned as a result of this. I don't know what the data is going to show. They may just go ahead with it. But Great Britain has said, cool it on the boosters. There's other countries that have said cool it. Israel is basically very booster happy. But you look, I'm not sure that Israel's had better results. And so, look, in Florida, if they're authorized, they'll be available for people. We're not going to not do that. It's going to be people's choices. But I think it raises questions as you go further down the line about what would even count as being vaccinated. Is it getting the J&J shot once? Is it getting the 2 Pfizer shots, 2 Moderna? Or is it going to be continuing to have to do shots basically whenever some government agency says to do it? And I think that's a little bit problematic. So, but the bottom line is this. I think that we figured
Okay, that's where the audio dropped on this. I'm not exactly sure why, but there are some great points that need to be taken from this particular press conference. Great point number one, and this came from a question being asked by a reporter. There are people out there, and this is true, that were anti-vaccine for whatever reason, and then ended up getting it, and then ended up dying. And they had the regret. Now that's fact. There are two very high-profile radio personalities that got it and regretted not getting vaccinated. Now, here's the thing about that. Whether you agree with it, whether I agree with it, whether the governor agrees with it, whether President Biden agrees with it, all of that is irrelevant. Because we live in a free country. The people out there pushing the vaccine are just as bad as the anti-vaxxers. The people out there pushing the vaccine are just as bad as the anti-vaxxers. Because anti-vaxxers are just as much as of activists as the people trying to push it. No one should be trying to push it, and no one should be trying to convince people not to. Period. It's not your job to tell me or tell anyone else what your opinion is. If I don't come to you and say, hey, do you think I should get the vax? It's not your job because you're not a doctor, you're not a virologist, you're not an immunologist, you're not a pathologist. You don't know. All you know is what you've parroted and you've repeated from what you've read on the internet. I've never said, go get vaccinated. I've never said, don't go get vaccinated. And what my opinion is for me, and what the Patriot Nurse's opinion is for her, and your opinion for you, okay, those are all independent. Because we live in a country that honors liberty. We live in a country that honors liberty. So sure, 7318 believes it's his job to go out and tell people what they should or shouldn't do. Because sure, 7318 is an expert on everything that has to do with COVID, so it's his job to go do that. Or her, whoever it is. You see, that's the point. That's the point. You have the right in this country to make a decision that other people perceive to be wrong. Or maybe was even wrong in hindsight. And the second, that leads to the second point. A guy asked to Governor DeSantis, he said, what about MMR? What about measles, mumps, rubella that is mandatory for Florida schools? Well, number one, that's a state requirement. The state has police power, not the federal government. And number two, when you get measles, mumps, rubella, you are immune. You have the antibodies 100% of the time. Once you have it, you don't get it again. Period. It's an actual vaccine. And it's exactly right. What Florida Treasurer just said, well said. It's a completely different calculus. Because, like the governor said, the average kindergartner, unvaccinated, is at less risk of COVID than a vaccinated adult. Let me say that again. This is fact. The average kindergartner, unvaccinated, is at less risk of COVID than a vaccinated adult. Yes, she did none ya biz, and it was what you would expect. So, no great revelations on those. But the point being, this whole debate online about what quote unquote, and this is real important, guys, listen to this, about what quote unquote people should or people should not do. Anybody in that debate, you're sheep. You're a bunch of sheep. Because it's not my job to express an opinion what my neighbor should do. It's not my neighbor's job. Now, if I go specifically ask my neighbor what I think or what he thinks I should do, that's one thing. But to go out and start pontificating about what you believe people should or shouldn't do based on crap you've read on the internet or even crap you've heard from me is just sheeple. Nonsense. To each his own, exactly right. Make your own decision. Don't try to push it, and don't try to not push it. Don't try to discourage people, and don't try to encourage people. Let people find out information for themselves and make their own decision, and then leave it there. Good fences make good neighbors. And that's what this is all about. And when it comes to kids, thank you for bringing that up, Don Woodburn, that's up to the parents. 100% of the time, up to the parents. That's their kids. They make the decisions, full stop. That's why we allow homeschooling. That is why we allow homeschooling. This is one of the nasty little things that gets indoctrinated in colleges on both sides, that it is your job to go out and change the world. Too many insist on pushing their opinions on others. Exactly right. Exactly right. It's just the way it is. You're going to have people in your life you don't agree with. You're going to have people in your life that don't agree with you. But that's just the case. I can't tell you what, Seahawk 7, I guess that is. I don't like being asked. You would not believe how many people have come to me. What about you, Mucky? Have you gotten vaccine? What about you? What about you? Why is it relevant to you? It's none of your business. The governor, whether he has or hasn't, none of anybody's business. This is the point. The government, through Common Core and through colleges, has taught you erroneously to believe that it is your job to go out and poke your nose in everybody else's business and change the world. Whether you're pro or anti-vax. Whether you're pro or anti-vax. That's why in Florida, the governor stood up and said, no, you're not going to ask for proof of vaccine. You're not going to force people to wear masks. You're not going to ask them whether they've had it or whether they don't. It's none of your business. It is none of your business. We leave each other alone, largely, in Florida. That's what makes it such a great state. At least where I live, people leave each other the hell alone. If we need each other, if there's a problem, hell yeah, we'll rally together. And we'll pick each other up. Yeah, no, exactly. None ya, Rebel. Exactly right. And that's probably the headline. I could have made this as the headline of this particular press conference. It's nobody's business. And the left realizes this. That's why they've run out. Your aerosol droplets could affect me. That makes it my business. No, sorry. Me just breathing in public doesn't give you the right to know my medical history. Me just breathing in public because you're scared of what could or may not, may or may not have, doesn't give you the right to look into my medical history or give the government the right to force me to do something. Before this whole COVID thing, people died of the flu. People died of the flu. People went out and they were breathing and they passed it and people got it and people died, and nobody, especially from the left or the right, ever said, because I could get the flu and I could die from it, or my older relative, or you could give it to me and I could give it to my older relative and they could die. There was no forced masking then. There was nobody forced anybody to get the flu shot to keep their job, even though that was possible. That that was possible with H1N1. That was possible with H5N7 or H38N297, whatever. All those H whatever N what, all that crap. Nobody at that time said we should force masks on children and we should fire people that don't take this government pressured, and that's fact, government pressured jab. And that's why the two people at the FDA resigned, which the governor echoed. They resigned because there was a political date set for boosters. And they said, nope, sorry. We will recommend it when we have the data. And because of that pressure, they resigned. So there were good people at the FDA because they said, no, this is enough. Enough's enough. I'll tell you what, man. The people over at the left, they are really straining now with this whole liberty thing. They really are. Especially Chris Cuomo lost his crap with the governor because he realizes they can't do anything. For the first time, a lot of the people over CNN have actually picked up the Constitution and actually read it and realized, hey, holy crap. We are supposed to be governed by the states. The states have all the power. The states have the policing power. The states have the ability to do this. Federal literally means of the states. And now that there's a governor that actually knows what the facts are and what the Constitution says, they are losing their shit. And you see, here we go. You see, Maybach Mel 1804 likes to copy-paste comment after comment after comment, and that's why he's going bye-bye. The jab is the mark, the jab is the mark, the jab is the whatever. You see, this is the kind of thing. This is why people on the right get demonized just as much as people on the left, because they're activists. Because they're activists. You need to stop being activists. Stop being activists one way or the other. Exactly right. Ain't nobody's business but my own. Great song. I tell you what. Nicki Minaj. How many of you heard about the whole Nicki Minaj thing? She's actually had enough herself. I mean, she's worth, I don't know how many tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't agree with her lifestyle or a lot of her videos, but man, she came out and told it like it is. She's like, oh, so now I can't talk to who I want to talk to? I can't have my own opinion? I can't have my own thoughts on things? And I can't tell you what's going on here and there? Yeah, whatever. Hell yeah. You know, years and years ago, some of you are going to remember this. The Eagles, when they got back together, their first album was called Hell Freezes Over. And one of the songs, sorry about this, 1 second. There we go. Was called Get Over It. I'm sure a lot of you heard this song, Get Over It by the Eagles. You should listen to it, re-listen to it. Now, those guys were a bunch of leftist liberals. Oh, here we go. Jet 88. We should be activists at Florida Marquis. What do you think you are by exposing truth? You too are an activist. No. You see, it's your opinion of the truth. It's your opinion of the truth. I'm not trying to push anything on anybody here. Find one video where I've tried to push anything on anyone. Anywhere. This is my channel, and it's my opinion, and that's all it is. I don't report information that I just went out and went on the internet from this website and that website and this other website, totally unverified, totally unvetted, and then report it as if it's the truth. Why do you think I do my Antarctica videos the way that I do them? The reason I do my Antarctica videos the way that I do them is because you, with a computer, can go to Google Earth Pro for yourself, and you can look at exactly what I'm looking at, and I can tell you my opinion of it. Anybody advocating for being an activist in anyone else's life, especially for personal medical decisions, is the enemy. Anyone who is attempting to be an activist, to convince you to make certain medical decisions for yourself or your children is the enemy. If you go to your doctor, that's different. That's not him. He's not being an activist. He's a doctor. You can go there, you can go not. I say the truth stands alone. You see, but the bee lady, what you believe to be the truth is you. Not me, not anyone else in chat. And of course, Dawn Woodburn, I don't trust Google nor any of it anymore. You know, you can Google 2 + 2 = 4, Dawn, and it does come up 2 + 2 = 4. This whole black and white thing is another trap, too. You see, it's called wisdom, and it's called discernment. This idea of pushing the truth on people is what led to the nonsense of the previous 4 years. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to talk about this. But Governor DeSantis is doing the hard work of conservatism that everybody thought you were going to get in the last 4 years that you didn't get. Ever see a single mean tweet from Governor DeSantis? You don't think there are people that he doesn't like, that don't like him, that attack him on a daily basis? He's been far more attacked in the last 6 months than the previous president. Far more. Has he mean tweeted once? No. He hasn't. Exactly right, Jason Nickerson. I can't force anyone into an ambulance by law. Can't force medical care. Why is the vaccine different? Why does the Fed think it has power? Exactly right. Because they've been allowed to have power. Because people have given in and acquiesced and nobody stood up and said no and walked away. And thank you for all the comments on the music. I very much appreciate it. Just a caveat on the music, by the way. Those videos, even though I uploaded them recently, they are years and years and years and years old. I recorded those when I was playing guitar a lot. I haven't played guitar at that level for a long time. It would take me a great amount of practice to get back into the music. So those of you making new requests for stuff, guys, I'm sorry. It's just, it would take a lot of time to get back to that level of guitar playing. So you never really forget, but any guitar player knows once you've put it down for 6 months or a year, you know, your hands just forget what to do. So anyway, but I do appreciate all the comments. I do appreciate all the support. It's nice to hear. It was what I originally only wanted to do on YouTube, was just be a guitar player. But as we know, that ship has sailed a long time ago. But anyway, I just wanted to cover this today because this is about the kids. This is where the rubber meets the road, right here. Because if you really think about it, I know a lot of you can remember 9/11. Well, guess what? Little tiny itty bitty baby infants born on 9/11 are now easily able to vote. If you take it all the way back to the first Gulf War back in 90, those little bitty itty bitty tiny babies then, they're now old enough to be serving in government. So it doesn't take much. You make decisions now with 20 years from now, we're all going to be here. We're going to be older and grayer, but the kids, little bitty babies right now, kindergartners right now, if they're kindergarten and they're 5 years old, they're going to be ready to vote in 13 years. So anyway, I will leave it there, but God bless. Thank you so much for being here. Over at the backup channel, Florida Maquis Alpha Site, last night we covered the historic launch of SpaceX Inspiration. This is the first time a craft has gone into outer space with only civilians on board. It was an amazing, amazing thing to see. So, anyway, I will leave it there. But God bless. Have a great day. Might have a video up a little bit later tonight. Sorry about last night on Twitch. Once again, trying to get to bed a little bit earlier. Can't be going to bed at 1 a.m. every morning. So anyway, someone has to counter the mainstream propaganda by putting out propaganda of your own. So that's actually that's the problem. Propaganda, and then anti-propaganda, and then anti-propaganda, and anti-propaganda. The idea that you need to fix everybody's mind because, you know, they're hearing this, and oh no, if they hear that, they're just too stupid to see through it. I can see through it because I'm not a sheep, but no one else can, so it's my job to fix them. I just can't handle people like that. I can't. So anyway, God bless. Have a great day, and we will talk to you all a little bit later. And Lord willing, 99, 100% tonight over on Twitch.